All right. Now, I was just visiting the chat room for a second. Apparently, our next guest is in there. Oblivious to me because I've been bouncing from back and forth from the switchboard, texting Kim Couture all night trying to get things lined up. But we do have someone on the line for the 419 area code. Who are we speaking with?
This is Dwight Decker.
What's going on, Dwight?
Not much. Just got in here and reading the chat and stuff.
Nice. We've been all over the board tonight. UFC 116, Kim Couture. Now we've got Blackforce MMA in the house. So we're excited. For those who just joined us, we've got Dwight Decker in. He runs the whole joint down there in Somerville. If we get cut off in the middle of the conversation, guys, you can check it on the archives. That'll probably be uploaded in about 5 minutes after the show as we are running to the brink. Or you can download it for free on iTunes. Just look for Hit the Ropes Radio. Now back to our man, Dwight. What is going on? A lot of craziness going on here, especially down here in South Carolina, where I guess you'd say from the main stage point of view, we're new to MMA as it just became legal here. Some guys have been doing it for a long, long time, like yourself. But your thoughts on MMA specifically here in South Carolina?
I think it's a great opportunity for South Carolina to jump in. I think by putting their hat in the ring, they're looking at the South Carolina being able to create jobs, create income. I mean, it's definitely something that, where I'm from up in Ohio, I mean, they've been doing it for years. I mean, and just the revenue that it creates for the state alone is, just amazing if you have the right people running it. And, I mean, I know we're going to talk about that, as well, too, with Michael Kirkham. I mean, that's an unfortunate incident that never should have happened. That fight never should have taken place. David Griffin, Houston Alexander, that's another fight that never should have taken place. When you have people, in charge of stuff like that, I mean, these people who are, relying on them, I guess, as fighters to watch out for their safety, and then they get let down, in instances where, they're put in a ring with a guy with 13 fights compared to a guy who has 4 fights and lost his 3 by TKO. I mean, you got to question, who do you point the finger at, So that, I know, that's a big thing, and it's an unfortunate thing. I mean, it really is. Yeah,
it's been crazy here, and you bring up, before we get to this incident, I guess you'd say, up in northern South Carolina, you bring up Houston Alexander versus David Griffin. It was his first pro fight, I guess. Was it his first? And he steps in with a former UFC fighter. Now, you say it should have never taken place. I don't know if it's due to the caliber fighter Houston Alexander is, but the guy made it 3 rounds. I didn't get to see the fight, so I don't know how lopsided those 3 rounds were.
I give it to David Griffin. I mean, he did an outstanding, phenomenal job coming into a situation where everything was stacked against him. And I mean, it was, they played it like the Rocky Balboa, the whole entourage of that, and that's what it came down to. I mean, he lived off adrenaline. I mean, and there was times during the fight when I was in the audience, and I even told David Griffin via Facebook, I was the first one to say that he was going to end up in the hospital. I mean, because I have seen stuff like that taking place. I've seen stuff like Michael Kirkham. I mean, that fight never should have taken place. And when the cards are stacked against you so much, and you have to rely on physical strength. I mean, and somebody like Houston Alexander, who's been, in situations before, has been experienced before. I don't know, and I'm not taking anything away from Houston either. I don't know if he didn't train as hard for this fight, knowing that this guy's making his pro debut. But I mean, that was a hard fight to sit there and watch. I mean, before it even started, I was sitting there going back and forth. Man, I don't even know if I want to watch this. But I'm glad I did stay. And like I told David Griffin on Facebook, you proved me wrong. You didn't get hurt. I mean, other than, some pride, but he hung in there, and it was a great fight. But does that mean everybody should go out there and do it? No, not by any means. Because, David Griffin is a physical specimen. He is just huge. But being a bodybuilder doesn't make you a great fighter, though, either.
Yeah. It's a touchy situation. You got a local guy, so obviously I'm assuming the promoters are trying to add in by having, the big name with the local guy coming in.
Correct.
And I understand that. I get that. And I also get where you're coming from as well, because situations like, like what happened upstate South Carolina, it's not good. In Aiken County, we saw Michael Kirkham, his pro debut. I saw from the news clip that they had where the guy was just on top of him, laying on some ground and pound. But the worst thing about it to me was the guy didn't have a gym. He was training in his backyard, and when it came to stepping into the octagon, it showed.
Right.
Now,
and you don't know how many people we've had come into Blackforce, and and I sit there and I question them. Have you ever fought before? Oh yeah, I do it all the time. And I'm like, where? Because I'll pull up the computer right there and enter the name in MMA.com or mixedmartialarts.com, and I'll enter the name in and nothing comes up. And they're like, oh, well, I'm 5-0. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing it. Oh no. It's all backyard. And I'm like, what? And they see this stuff on TV and they think they're going to be the next Kimbo Slice, and that's not the case. Kimbo, yeah, he's top heavy. All you got to do is take his legs out, and next thing you know, he taps, and there's a lot more that goes into this sport than seeing it on TV, going in your backyard, and beating somebody up. There's a lot more to it than that.
I had the same sort of thing happen where I was at a bar, and this guy who's a bar manager, he came up to me and he was like, my 16-year-old wants to get into mixed martial arts. And because he can grab onto the pole and, vertically stand like that, like a headstand, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He thought he could be a mixed martial artist with a little bit of karate.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And I think it's the parents' fault for trying to live their life through them.
Yeah, that is a sad thing. But if it's done right, through a accredited school, accredited teacher, we don't see this. But let me ask you this: who's to blame in situations like this? Is it promoters? Is it the what is it, the ISKA? Is that the governing body, one of the governing bodies?
One of them down here, yes.
Do they not have a responsibility to step in at this point?
You just answered the big question right there. Do they have a responsibility? And I think with that is you look at a fighter, or whether or not he has a manager or not, okay? That guy goes to his manager, hey, I want to fight. Great. I'll make you a pro. This guy, 1-3. Let's just use this case as an example, Michael Kirkham. I want to make some money. I need money. I got 5 kids. I need money. Fighting's my dream. Okay. Harsh reality is just because a promoter makes you a pro, or the South Carolina Athletic Commission or the ISKA makes you a pro, you still have to look at the facts. The fact is you're 1-3. Okay? Just because a promoter says, hey, I'm going to – and I don't know what Michael Kirkham got paid. I have no idea. Let's just say it's $300 and $300. $300 to show, $300 to win, okay? The other guy, who might be a hometown kid or whatever, can sell 100 tickets. He's going to get that same thing. The promoter's going to – and I see it 1,000 times. The promoter's going to say, well, I'll give you 30% of your ticket sales plus 3 and 3. That guy can walk out of there with, $2,000,